Okay, so in this episode, I am going to unpack the big question that many of you have. Can you be religious and spiritual? So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, and welcome back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the big question that stops a lot of people, especially empaths, in their tracks when they first start to awaken, when they first start to realize that they have certain gifts, is the inconsistency, the confusion over whether they can still be religious and still follow a spiritual path. And I'm from the UK. I do know this is a bigger problem in the US, and I can't really comment on how religion is being taught there. Religion in the UK is very much about searching and understanding yourself and searching for your moral compass, searching for your beliefs, searching for your values and how you live your life. And and so spirituality kind of slots straight into that, because spirituality is about discovering ourselves, being true to ourselves, stepping into that authenticity with firm beliefs, firm values, whatever that looks like for us on a personal level, with the proviso we do no harm. And so it's quite difficult for me to even try to unpack what's going on with religion in the US, because I've not been exposed to that. What I would actually say is, for Christians in the US, Jesus was a healer. And so if you're empathic and you find that you have healing powers, as it were, which we all have, it just gets brought to the forefront with an empath because of that heightened compassion, then I don't see how that is a problem. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of the conflict lies from divination, but I would ask you this question: if you were not meant to have that connection with God, with higher source, then why have you got it? Why have you been created with it? And I can't answer these questions. I truly believe that you can be religious and you can be spiritual. Spirituality for me is about personal development. It's about finding that deep connection and understanding of yourself, and nurturing the deep connection to source and all of creation. And when I read the Bible, that's what I read, that's what I see, that's what I hear. Now, I do know that the brain is very clever, and so we hear and we see and we interpret that which is already in our own mental workings. We've only have to see the fights over religion across the globe for centuries, how one interprets it one way and one interprets it another, with all the Bibles, with the Torah, with the Quran, with the Bible. We've seen the conflicts of its interpretation, but I would actually say those conflicts stem from man rather than from God, from source, from the universe. As far as I'm concerned, when I read the Bible, can take a lot of solace. And for those of you that don't know, when I first started opening up to my spirituality, I, not being a hugely religious person, because of all the conflicts, because of all the confusion and the doctrination, I kind of stayed away from it as an adult. It was like, not my bag. It's too hypocritical and it's too judgmental for me. But I'm not going to lie to you. When I first started opening up, when I first started awakening, I was getting random names and numbers. And it took me a long time to work out that actually what I was getting was I was being given Bible verses. And once I actually realized that, and I went back and I looked up what I'd been given, and I looked at the verses and I read those verses, they were stepping stones for what was going on in my life. They were signposts and guide for what God, what the universe, what creation was trying to communicate to me to help me in my life. And so for me, I believe that religion and spirituality go hand in hand. I don't believe in all the doctrination and the way that man can very often interpret what's been written. And I don't like the judgment. I certainly don't believe in a heaven and hell. The hell for me is our own struggles, our own insecurities, our own battles that we have within, fighting our own demons, fighting aspects of ourselves that make us uncomfortable, that have us do things that actually are not aligned with who we are as a soul being. And that will come from programming, that will come from the society we grew up in, that will come from the type of neighborhood we grew up in, the type of nurturing that we got as children. Those building blocks will be there, and then as adults we have to work through them, we have to make sense of them. And that working through them, that making sense of them, is part of the spiritual journey. But if you read religion, it's the same. It's working through, how can I be a better person? How can I show up in a more authentic way for myself? How can I use the values and beliefs in modern day? How can I help my neighbor? How can I help my community? How can I be a productive member of society? And so when you're looking at those two, for me, there is no difference. There is very little difference. I've had many people come to me because I also run an empathic group, and over the years I've had many people come to me with this same confusion, with this same question. I feel guilty when I'm in church because I have been working on my spirituality during the week. I feel uncomfortable in church. And what I'd like to ask you is, why are you feeling uncomfortable? What have you been told? What have you learned that is making you feel uncomfortable? Does it actually belong to you? Is it your truth? Because very often that uncomfortability that we feel is because we're not standing in our own truth. And truth is subjective. You could have 5 people in a room and 5 people hear the same conversation, and every single one of them would have a different interpretation of what that conversation was. We are individual beings within a collective, and that's what makes this so magical, because what we would hear and what that person would hear will be completely different. But it doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. What it means is we add to the tapestry. Okay, we heard that. That was our initial impressions of what that conversation was. They heard that. Is there anything in their conversation that also resonates with me? Is there anything in their truth that I need to look at that maybe I missed because I'm running my programs of my upbringing, of my ancestors? When we can actually step away from what's right and what's wrong and step into this is right for me, that is right for them. But maybe we can learn from each other. When we're able to get ourselves into that kind of energy and into that space and into that intellect, that is when true diversity and inclusion comes into play. A lot of the diversion and inclusion laws at the moment are just lip service. They're not really inclusive and they're not really diversive. Everybody is standing on their side of the fence and they're not willing to budge and they're not willing to listen and they're not willing to consider maybe changing an aspect within their beliefs or incorporating an aspect into their beliefs. And this is the same as the whole question of why I'm doing this video is division or division, religion or spirituality. They're not separate. They go hand in hand. They interlock. And yet we're being asked to take a side. You're one or the other. And no, we don't need to be one or the other. Who says we have to be one or the other? It doesn't say it in the Bible. It doesn't say it in the Quran. It doesn't say it in the Torah. It doesn't say you have to pick a side. What it says is this is how we would like you to live your life. This is how you can live in peace, in harmony, in tranquility. This is how you can be a good member of society. There is no sides. There is no one or the other. When we actually open ourselves to all possibilities, which is what spirituality stands for, when we open ourselves to all those possibilities, we open ourselves to true diversity and true inclusion. And it's only when masses of us, which is happening, even though it doesn't feel like it, when masses of us do that, do we then start to live in peace, then start to live in harmony. And I do know, I am aware that our current situation, what's going on in the world, is saying a very different story. But that is one facet. That is what they want you to believe. That is, it serves a purpose to keep the masses divided. Divide and control. It's the oldest tactic in the book. Divide and control. When we choose not to be divided, when we choose to stand in our own authenticity, in our truth, with the understanding that the person next to us will have a very different truth, and the person over there will have a different truth, and the person in the room next door will have a different truth, and that's okay. It doesn't affect me. We work together, and I'm not closed off to listening to what their truth is. I'm open to listening, and then I'm strong enough, I am confident enough, I am secure enough. And security plays a big part in this, our own personal security. Once we are secure in who we are, that's when we can truly listen, because we will only take what resonates. We won't be swayed. We won't be convinced. We won't take on other people's beliefs just because they said it, or just because they have a stronger personality, or because they're using NLP, or they have a tactic, or they're dangling a fish. We're not going to be swayed by any of that. We're going to stand in our own power, our own sovereignty. We're going to be secure in that, so secure that we are open to listening to other people's beliefs, other people's perspectives. That's when we get true diversity. That's when we get true inclusion. And that is when we get to openly discuss, embrace, and harmonize the uniqueness which is within all of us within a collective. It's magical. And so, yes, I truly believe religion and spirituality go hand in hand. That's my belief. That's my truth. Check in with yourself. See what feels comfortable for you. And follow your breadcrumbs. Follow your North Node, your North Star. Follow what your soul self is saying to you, is speaking the truth to you. Listen to your heart. Don't go into the head. Don't go into the programs. Listen to what's right for you. Build in the confidence. Build yourself a firm foundation. And when we do that, we will build a better world for future generations. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be all love and light. Love and light are the vibrations we want to get into and we want to maintain. That doesn't mean that we don't get angry. If you see my last video, you will see that I still get angry. It doesn't mean that we don't sometimes have a wobble and feel a little bit insecure. It doesn't mean that we are perfect and have all the answers. It just means that we rely on our heart, our soul selves, and our connection to divine. We get to listen to what's right for us in that moment, and we can be secure that the steps that we take are right for us in that moment. That doesn't mean it's not going to change in the future. That doesn't mean that we won't evolve, we won't learn, we won't change our mind. We don't have to fix ourselves in a certain belief, a certain value. There will be core beliefs and core values that are important for us, and they will stay with us for the rest of our life. But we can take and add to that little bits at a time as we need, as we're shown, as we grow, as we educate ourselves, as we learn. So I hope that has helped to answer the question between spirituality and religion. I truly believe you can have both. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments box. If you haven't yet subscribed, press that button, give me a thumbs up so this video gets out to more people, so that we can create a space where there's less confusion and more harmony and peace and love and compassion to all our fellow men. Bye-bye for now.